Welcome to Daily Invocation, Soul's Check-in, your source of inspiration and information for your healing, attainment, and liberation.
Pura Vida, everyone. Pura Vida, as we invoke this week of intimacy.
Into me you see.
We wanted to start off today invoking super spiritual, all the way microcosmic and all the way macrocosmic as we bring in the intimacy, making clear agreements. So on the super spiritual, we have the agreements subatomically between protons, electrons, and neutrons, the agreement to spin around each other in configurations to make atoms, right? I guess smaller than that is quarks, but that's a different conversation. And those atoms make agreements to coalesce together and agree to be together to make molecules on up to the universes, agreeing to have intimacy in their relating and spinning. So, invoking that big spiritual scale into the tiny spiritual scale, everything in between, as we dive into making clear agreements.
So making clear agreements in relationships when it comes to authentic relating from the heart, and in the process, creating intimacy with yourself and with others. We talked about that ongoing cycle and the beautiful dance. There are some practical tools to use to remove the barriers of things such as implicit agreements.
As we increase our ability for intimacy and ability to relate, one thing we really want to bring up into awareness is the nature of our agreements. Explicit agreements, on the easier side, you sign a contract or you say something, easy, I'll see you at 3 p.m. Bam, that's an agreement. And as we heal and mature and become more authentic and get deeper in our relationships,
and get rid of the trauma,
exploring the implicit agreements that can be in place.
So in romantic relationships, this is a very easy one to witness, if you will. For example, there are people that go into their wedding or into a marriage, for example, and don't realize the amount of implicit agreements in the relationship. Are you both on the same page around what monogamy might be, or ethical non-monogamy, or however you choose to pattern this relationship? Does loyalty mean the same thing to you, right? To you both, etc. So there are a lot of implicit agreements at work is another great example. Yes, there's the contract when you sign the offer and things of that nature, and there may be policies in place, but there are also a lot of implicit agreements between colleagues and coworkers, how you handle confidential information, on and on and on. So examples of making those implicit agreements explicit, it's very simple. Expression. You literally bring that to the surface, and sometimes you're not even sure what the agreement might become. Maybe it starts with a discomfort of, wait a minute, I didn't realize that I had made this implicit agreement. And then you can talk to your partner, meaning whoever's in front of you, or group of people, around what you want that to be. Hey, I'm becoming aware of this. So expression would be the first step.
And the great news is that there's tons of opportunities over and over and over again to practice this, making the implicit explicit.
Yes.
And you pointed out something great. One very practical tool we're excited to share is just name what's happening. Like when you said, oh, that's discomfortable. There's a discomfort here when, I said 3, well, you thought 3:15 was okay. Well, that's actually going to make us late, So how we define timeliness is an implicit agreement,
Right.
right? You make that explicit. Hey, I wasn't comfortable with that.
Right.
We said 3 and it was 3:15. Well, there's traffic and, whatever, you get the point. Right.
And usually, so I love that this ties back into vulnerability that we talked about a few days ago, because it is a vulnerable thing to do. It is a bit of a risk to say to someone, actually, being on time is really important to me. And that vulnerability can lead to so many degrees under the surface. I get to find out why is 3 so important to you? Oh, okay, now I understand not just why that's so important to you, but that clues me into some other expressions about who you are. And now it just improves the relationship, because now I'm able to understand what's beneath it, not just what the request is, but also the values, the integrity, and how we could navigate through this relationship even better than if I had never known that, if you had never expressed that to me.
And it just feels good. Making agreements. There's a satisfaction in following through, right? Satisfaction in communicating.
I'm laughing because just before we got on our live today on Daily Invocation, I made a request, hey, could we not play the Didge today? And we had a whole conversation about, wait, what was the agreement? Well, I thought this was the agreement. And so renegotiating things will change in the relationship. You will change. Things are evolving all the time. And so being able to go back and re-clarify, or maybe state that now you're ready for a different kind of agreement. But more than anything, expressing it, naming what is.
Yeah, that's a great ending point, is agreements aren't ironclad.
Mm-hmm.
And the process of talking about them, bringing it up, hey, can we renegotiate this? Often, most of the time, hopefully should engender more intimacy.
Yes.
So that is a great ending point for today. And we can invite you all to
Trauma to Triumph workshop is this Sunday, August 1st. And we could send you more information on that. There is a registration link. So comment Triumph in the box below, and we will send that right over. You can have a space where, if you did implement any of these things that we've been sharing with you over the last few months, you could come and share how that's going, where you're kind of butting up against other people or your own emotions and things of that nature. So it's a beautiful, sacred space for you to do that.
Yeah, so let's get together Sunday at Trauma to Triumph and dive into intimacy and agreements and all this fun stuff. Much love, everyone.